SimStructure was a physics simulator that simulated spaceships and rockets and boats and balloons and airplanes. I wrote it for Windows. I took the physics engine I wrote for SimStructure and I built it as a library in TempleOS. It's a Runcata adaptive step size 4.5 algorithm from numeric recipes in C. What it is basically, Runcata is a better Big O than Euler, which is the naive, that's what everybody who's an amateur uses. So it's a better Big O, and it's a 4th order and 5th order adaptive step size. So the 5th order is considered perfect, and then it looks at 4th order and it decides how much error there is. If there's error, it slows down and takes smaller steps. Shut up, bird. Shut up! Anyway, so if it slows down and takes smaller steps, so that's why it's adaptive step size. And it has a state vector, which is an array, and I have, since F equals ma, the fundamental law of physics is 2nd order. For each for each mass, there's two dimensions or 3 dimensions, and there's two values for because it's 2nd order, F equals ma. So you have 6. If it's 3 dimensions, you have 6. You have 6 array spots taken for each mass. I'm gonna kill that bird. Stop it. So if you have 6, it's you change it to 1st order equations with vector math. So anyway, you have to supply a derivative. It calls your derivative callback. So some of the let me go ahead and start with. This is not on the distribution, but you can get it off my website. It's called Rocks. This is, you'll notice that you have angular momentum. It's like asteroids, but with angular momentum. You can see I'm slowing down. I'm thrusting. It's a lot. Anyway, so that has gravity. It's a ridiculous game. It's not very, you can't really play it. So Excalibur is same thing basically, but this has an anti-spin control system. I added air resistance, otherwise it would spin crazy like the rocks spins. If you hit the back arrow, it takes you out of a spin. It's a control system autopilot that takes you out of a spin. And when you get to the laser level, you keep the laser on target by holding the autopilot anti-spin while you fire the laser to keep it on target because it jitters. There's another. Okay, so here's this is a lot like SimStructure is like this. You build vehicles. I'm not doing a very good job. So you place masses and springs. In SimStructure, I call them particles and bonds. It's all the same thing. I don't know. I didn't like member. I don't like the word member. Okay, well, I'm making a connector that will break when I press the 2 key. And the other one will break when I connect the 1 key. Now I'm making a thruster that'll thrust when I press the 2 key, and a thruster that'll thrust when I press the 1 key, and a thruster that'll thrust when I press the 3 key. So now we start it up. 3. Oh, it's kind of fucked up. There's our missile. There's our other missile. And I did my own graphics. I did all this zoom stuff. Anyway, it's no GPU, so that my missiles can keep going. Anyway, so sim structure is a lot like that, where it's flexible, create your own vehicles. This is just stupid. This lets you build a bridge, placing a mass. You make concrete members, and you try for, it's a design contest. You want minimum cost, and I think you make up your own rule. I think you want it to go for a minute without breaking. If you make shorter, well, anyway, we can set it in motion. Basically, it's a bridge that falls apart. It doesn't have torque. It's ridiculous. But you can do wires and steel and concrete. They have different properties. The steel is the wires are in tension, so that you can get some. The concrete is good in tension. The steel is good in tension. The concrete is good in compression. The steel is good in tension. I don't know anything about that, to be quite honest, so it's completely fictional. Here's my rocket. So you're trying to make a rocket to shoot down an airplane. So we're adjusting the feedback coefficients. If you go too stiff, then it's the wrong value. So this would be pretty hard to do properly. I just guess. This is a hand-controlled rocket. This is kind of like the Lunar Lander video game when we were a kid. It's impossible. Anyway, so those are the differential equations in TempleOS. This was, you could do control systems like this in sim structure, but this is more flexible because I have a compiler. In sim structure, I had an interpreter, and it wasn't free form. So this you make a derivative routine for the callback to the differential equation engine. You put in. I can show you what happens if you change the viscosity of the. Let's go to Excalibur. I told you it's not very. Space is not supposed to have air resistance, but it's ridiculously hard to play this game if you don't have air resistance. So drag, is that it? That doesn't seem like very much air resistance. Oh yeah, look at that thing flies apart. It's aliasing, it's spinning so fast. So anyway, so I didn't want to deal with that. So that's a third order drag, I think.